This is Justin Scoop on Monday, November 17th, 2025. I'm looking at SPX. So we had what looked like was primarily going to be an inside day with quite a bit of selling. Ended up making a new low, lower than yesterday or Friday, and then getting bought up again uh, at the close there. So we are yeah, we've got some selling going on. We did get back into this area where we had some consolidation. So we can draw this back in, and we saw that we were bouncing at the apex three times. I talked about this on Friday, and then here we are bouncing again. After hours, we've sold off some more, at least not on SPX, but on SPY 500 or SPX 500. The futures, it's down right now. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be down in the morning at open. But we've also had alternating candles again. So, like these four candles alternating, we've been doing that again here. And then tomorrow, if we actually, I would somewhat anticipate a candle like this over here, where we could actually gap down and put in a lower wick, and then we get bought back up and turn into a bull candle. That'd be a really nice hammer. I don't know that's the right place for a hammer because it's taking out this hammer. It would be the one I just drew would be taking out these lows, and that just has more uncertainty or would suggest more negative movement, more selling off. So the next area that we were looking at kind of going down to is through here, where we had a bunch of these lows through here. Um, I'd have to look again to see where exactly futures actually sold down to. But I remember, what was it, this day or this day? One of these days after hours kept selling and actually made a new low somewhere down in here below this candle. So it'd be interesting to see how far that went down. And then have we been this far already, or is that a possibility? I don't know. We'll have to actually wait and see how everything plays out overnight and see if we'll still have a gap down in the morning. If this gets bought, it's looking weaker. We've stayed behind this purple line now. Two candles. It'd be great if we can get a bull close back above that, closing above each of these wicks. But that may only retest back up to this midline at this point. I don't, back on this day, I'm like, oh, we're so close to a new all time high. We should just go there. Well, we clearly didn't. And I was not ready for that. I was ready for a little bit of this, but not, not as much as the selling that we've really had. So, yeah, I'm in a little bit of bullish position still that's down. And I'm hoping to get out if it can actually retrace some, get back up some. But I was not expecting as large of a sell that we got today because, well, it actually started out with a good deal of buying. So let's actually look over at the 3 minute, and we can see that we had a really nice hammer come in, some buying, looked great. I'm going to move this down a little bit. You can see, okay, there's that level. That it would have been great if we got to close above that, get above yesterday's or Friday's upper wick. That didn't happen, and we stayed below this. I'm like, this is a really interesting kind of angle we've got here with how we are making a high and then a lower high and another kind of lower high with that much of a pullback and that much of a dip. It's like that kind of looks familiar. I wonder if that fits with previous angle that we had. This one. So it actually is pretty close. The high here, I just have it sitting on the green line, and then we almost got that high here and then a little lower here. But if you recall, this is kind of the downtrend angle that we were looking at way back over here when we were making new all-time highs, right? We started to pull back a little bit and put in this. We're running into this really nicely. It's like, oh, just slightly lower highs. And here we are doing that again, really fitting pretty close to that angle. Actually, if we duplicate this, how did we do yesterday? Yesterday's pretty close too. Look at that. Or Friday. I keep saying yesterday. I didn't even notice it or think of it Friday, but if I just put that right in the high, we're a little bit above this one, and we push through a little bit here, but still making lower highs. Actually, this one may have been slightly higher or about the same. Anyway, close enough. I'm going to leave these on here just for some confluence that, hey, we had kind of this angle over here, and now looks like maybe we're getting some of that angle again. I did try the yellow line here. Oops. Duplicate that and move that over, and it didn't really fit anywhere. It's just, yeah, it's not pushing back up. Maybe that one a little bit, but it already broke above that. Um, so I can leave that one there. I'll zoom back in and hone that in a little bit. But let me try the bottom edge and see, does anything kind of line up? Is there anything to really look at on the bottom side? No, it's just way steeper than this. A little bit of that over there. Um, yeah, I'm not really seeing the bottom edge match up with much. It cuts through that one. Okay, so let me zoom back in and see how can we hone this in a little bit. That, no, I don't really like how far away that. And it's just a little bit of a wick. Oh, that one's close. So between these two and then cutting through there, if I extend this to the right, okay, we're almost on that one. I kind of like that sitting there. Um, would have been great had we touched here or actually held exactly there, but I think that's somewhat intact. Actually, I don't like extending this to right because I don't want it going forever. So I'm going to just duplicate this again, which this is another way to do it, and I'm just going to overlay it. That way I can see that, okay, hey, look, we're kind of held it through here and here, but not really any further because it cuts through. We broke down below all that. And the yellow line, zoom in a little bit more, just zoom in yesterday and see how did that go. You know what? We were a little further away from these, but then we were right there on that, and then it broke out. So I'm going to leave that there too. Oops, didn't mean to zoom out so far. So that's kind of regrouping a little bit. One thing I do like about putting this on here now is this is a bit of a wedge shape that didn't play out all the way down to the apex, but it did actually break out. It just didn't have staying power. It actually came back down and got below on the day. So it just shows framework. It shows that bulls are trying, and this may have been a really good setup for, hey, here's the bear wedge, which should break bullish, and then we should get an S curve and we should bounce, and we didn't get the bounce. We pulled back a little further. Actually, we kind of pulled back into the apex. I wonder if I extend this to the right. Yeah, look at that. It kind of got right there at the apex of that. So that's kind of cool when things line up. I don't know that I would have taken a trade off of that. Where this opened up was still a good place for having some buying come in, so that worked. Um, but overall, in general, we were making lower highs yesterday or Friday to today, and then if you discount all of this, at this point we were making some lower lows here and then continued on here, and now actually pushing a little further down here. Then this gets steeper, so making having a high and then a lower high and then yet again another lower high. So all of a sudden we just what's the phrase? Turn on the gas, something like turn on the gas. We hit the gas pedal. I don't know. We're accelerating downward is what it seems like we're doing. We're making steeper lower highs and lower lows. So from here to here is steeper than these two, right? So it just seems like something has shifted. Actually, that might be a good channel there. I'll have to look at that to see. And then we obviously have the takeout of Friday's low. All of this is significant. Had we closed below, that would have been stronger. But I think maybe even some people were buying this thinking, oh, it's going to bounce here because it did multiple times before. And so if we do actually gap down tomorrow morning, then all of those folks will be trapped. And I think that's somewhat significant. I am going to delete all this. I'm going to leave some of these lines on here just for some framework, relating it back to things another week or so back. And then yeah, let me just zoom right back in on today. and we'll look at options. And I don't want to forget to show one more thing. So, okay, so I've got the 6750 call that expired today and the 6700 put that expired today. And just looking at some of the framework that we've got here with, a little bit of consolidation here. We were going down on the call, obviously, since we were going down on SPX, but we were also going down slightly on or sideways to down on the put. And so something's got to give. It sometimes it can do this for hours, but in this case, there was just a lot going on with the Bulls and the Bears kind of fighting it out, and the Bears won. The Bears really pushed this hard down and barely even got any retracement, barely any retracement back up. So the Bulls really moved. You got kind of again, just a little bit of choppiness, consolidation here, going mostly sideways, a little bit up. Um, this was a great place to, look for a place for it to retest. It retested into the 21. I don't know, you would have been trading that with this option, but there are some great opportunities to get in bearish way up here. And I'll show you another thing with that in just a sec. And then let's see. So, with these lines in here, or with this line in here now, it really frames this up really nicely. But this is a great Morningstar reversal shape here. And that would have been a great place to get into call pretty inexpensively, buying around $2 and a stop down at one. A setup like that, and then it actually ran up to 10. I don't know if you would have held it to 10, but that was a really nice bull move after it took out the opening low. So you kind of anticipate it's going to take out the low and then get retraced somewhat, maybe into these lows. So maybe your target is only around 5 or 6, and you're out. You're back up to this level. Around probably around 6. So buying at 2, out at 6, that's a good setup. That's a good trade. And then pretty much anything else with the calls didn't work until the very end of the day here. It was much lower. Puts, however, kept working. You can go further and further away, not indefinitely, but 66.25 puts, I think we're going up as this was collapsing. So go take a look at some of the other options, some of the other trades that you could have been in, looking at how the puts were moving. This was a day that it just kept going. Sometimes they're unpredictable. I think there were some key levels in here, which is kind of what I wanted to jump over. So this is my SPY plus 0.01 chart, and I've shown this before. And I've got some fibs on here. So I'm going to zoom way in on this. So you see the 17 down at the bottom here. This is today. So basically from what's on the left of the screen there, all of this is today. And I'm just looking at 15. We can go look at like a 3. So it looks similar. But I've got this fib level here with the price around 630, sorry, excuse me, 673.10. Or 673.09, somewhere in there. And I got a fib level down here, 662.83, I think it was, somewhere in there. Actually, let's just go check those levels. So I drew this fib way back over here, and it's still working really, really well. 662.83. I had an alert on this that went off when it hit that price, and then 673.10. We traded basically straight from this down to this. And you can look at the 3 minute to see. I mean, it fits with so many things. It fits with the lines. It fits with the levels. Had you shorted here, it didn't really get going. Had you shorted here, it did, kind of peter out a little bit and then really tanked, retraced, and then pushed lower. And then with that alert, I was in going bullish over in here and actually rode into after hours a little bit. And a nice little move back up, nice little retracement. Didn't move as far as I wanted, but still got a nice little gain there. I was having internet issues during the day, and so I missed a ton of this, which would have been phenomenal. But it's also difficult when it's already going. It's like, okay, I want to get in on, I want to go bearish on some bull candle, which one? And so it's good to have some things to look for because there just weren't a lot. So it's like, okay, where can you go in? Where can you get in bearish? It's like, is this bear, is this enough of a retracement? Well, you didn't really get another bull candle until kept making lower bull candles all through here, and then that was the bottom bull candle. So all throughout this, there were very few bull candles if you want to get in on that kind of retracement. So you can start to look at levels. You can start to look at, hey, where are we crossing a moving average? What's a good level? Is there a good price level? We paused here. All of that was pausing about the same. Started to go up. Nope, took that out. But then we should have retested stronger from to that low, and we didn't even do that. So right there, you can see there's a lot of weakness here. But I just want to keep showing these levels just because it's working really, really, really well. Um, if we do end up gapping down in the morning at open, I've got some levels over here. Let me actually go back to daily here. We can see what those prices are. So if we gap down or take out today's low, 659.65, 656.43, 653.52. These are the next few levels I'd be looking at. Actually, oh yeah, the 1.272 I have in here just because that was right at this low. Normally I would not have that. I would normally have the 618, the 50%, and the 382. But in this case, I put this on here just because it did play out in pretty closely in another fib level. If we take out all that, 646.20, I don't know if we're setting up to do another big bear candle like this. We definitely have some increased volume here, not quite rivaling this day. One thing I did change in these charts is to be able to see the candles better. I made the volume more, what's it called, translucent? No, what's the term? Um, Opaque. The opacity I changed from 50% down to 10% just so I could see the candles better because I'm looking at a bunch of stuff and the volume's cutting through. I want to see the candle. I don't really want to be confused by the same red and green. I could have changed the red and green. But anyway, that's just what I've done to set things up. So those are just some of the next few levels. There, I've got a number of different places that we could have potential support. It could slow down. It doesn't have to. Then we got the long-term moving average here. Um, Let me unhide this. So that's right at 650, right? That's right at 650.45, right in here. And then down here around 625, it's like could we really pull back that far? I mean, we did do stuff like that way over here. We've not taken out lows like we did over here. I mean, all of this going sideways with this other group of fids. We're taking out lows, retracing some. We haven't even seen anything like that, and already it feels like, oh, this is awful. It's going down. It's like we were below long-term moving averages over here. We haven't even broken, like barely today. We broke the 50. We got below it Friday, traded up. We did actually close below 50, but there was some strength that came in right at the close. So you could say, actually, if we look over at what's the ES. So the ES, oh, it did actually close by 4 p.m. Central lower. And this is where we're at on futures right now, like right now as I'm doing this video at quarter to midnight. So you can see we did trade down more, but right now we're getting bought back up. So we did, this is the cash session. This is the during the day, and then that closes at 3 p.m., which is right here. And then here's the 315 close on SPX. I'm sorry, SPY, and then the day closes um, at 4 p.m. and then it reopens. I'm trying to get it right here, right there. So it closes at 4 p.m. and reopens at 5 p.m. Because it's traded 23 hours, 5 days a week. And so we chopped around sideways and then we rolled down. I've got some other levels in here. I don't know how well it's holding this channel. We kind of pushed back through that. Got below. Right now we're fighting right at the midline. I don't know if that's significant. I haven't double checked on any of these channels, so don't go off of this. It's just interesting to see when it plays into some of these values. So I'm not in any futures trades right now, but this is what I would have been looking at had I been really following something through this level. There's some really nice nice consolidation in here. I'm getting way off topic from SPX stuff, but there's a really nice consolidation there right on that channel. which is kind of holding the high here. And then it looks like we made a little bit of more of a high, and maybe that's a trap sort of setup. And then we consolidate, we break down, retest a tiny bit, not much, and collapse. I would have been looking for a target right here at the midline. So like entry, probably with a breakdown, stop up here, and then trade down to this level. And that would have been a nice, probably three. What is that? One, two, probably about a 3 to 1. That's a nice setup. Just trading futures. So, and then we retraced. We didn't get down to the bottom edge, but now we've retraced, and you could argue, are we doing some kind of consolidation here? I would want to keep that pretty loose until I'm seeing levels on both sides. You know, like there's some upper wicks here, and then you got kind of the long-term moving average, the blue line on the bottom, and then it starts to go. So you could have something to set up like that. I like to look for retests, but this wasn't even a retest, so probably possibly would have missed that one too. So anyway, that's just another way to look at some of this, and that's what I got. Hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.